welcome to the Gamers Inn. Come on in, pull up a chair next to the fire. You look like you've had a long journey. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ryan. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. It has been a long journey. Do you know how many planets I had to visit just to get to this show?
How many? Just ballpark.
Boy, Wait, no, shit. That's not the way it works. No, I visited a lot of planets. So I had the day off yesterday, which was nice. Played some video games, and I am just stocked with all kinds of amazing video games to talk about today.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. I pretty much have one to talk about.
Cool.
Specifically. I guess we can probably get everything out of the way. First of all, we will do everything that is not Warcraft spoilers. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about all the Broken Shore stuff, the Demon Hunter stuff, the Invasion stuff, all of that. We'll do that at the end. I have a splash image to put up so you guys will know when we're talking Warcraft spoilers, because if you guys have not actually played through the scenario, and if you haven't actually started a Demon Hunter and played through that starting zone, I do not want to be the one that is going to tell you what's going to happen. So we are going to make it very, very clear when we were talking Warcraft spoilers, but it's not going to be right now. Also, that way you guys can kind of turn off the episode. If you get to the point of Warcraft and you don't want to hear about Warcraft, you can just turn it off. So I think that's probably the best way to go about doing it. So first, I'm going to talk about Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft because I actually won't be here tomorrow, and I probably won't be on next week on Wednesday because I'm going to DreamHack in Montreal. So I'm really, really, really excited about that.
So DreamHack, it's obviously a huge LAN gaming fest, tournaments. Hearthstone will be involved in some fashion. Now, we've talked about you training for DreamHack, lifting iPhones.
Exactly, yeah.
Because that's what you do to a montage, probably.
There was montage music. Come on.
Yeah. And like running up steps and then like slamming the iPhone on the ground. No, don't do that. But what have you been doing? Literally, like I took that joke a little far. What have you been doing to train? Like I saw you were playing Hearthstone, which is something you normally do anyways. But what are you doing differently to kind of get ready?
So basically what I've been doing, it's really, really difficult to do it on the ladder, because the ladder, you're always facing things that aren't necessarily what you're going to face in a tournament. Plus, there's absolutely no way you can predict your opponent. So basically what I've been doing, I've been watching a lot of Twitch streams. I've been watching a lot of tournaments. I've been doing a lot of research on like the competitive Hearthstone Reddit, looking at the Tempo Storm, meta decks, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of picking and choosing and practicing on the ladder, just trying to get a feel for each of the decks and the play styles and trying to figure out what I'm most comfortable with. And that's basically my strategy going into DreamHack. Is the whole idea is I'm playing not necessarily what I think is the absolute best deck either on ladder or in the tournament, but what are the best decks that I feel I can pilot the best. Because I feel like if I am comfortable with the deck going in and I know how to play it, I know the play style, I'm probably going to be a lot more successful than if I go in with a deck that's like supposed to be the best, but I have no idea what I'm doing with it.
Right. So you're actually playing in a tournament then, right? You're competing.
Yes, it's an open tournament. Right now, I think there's 85 participants because you have to actually be at DreamHack. You can't it's a LAN. It's not a like online tournament, so you have to actually be there. And so it's fairly small, but there's some pretty big names that are going to be there. So nice. I was looking at the people that have signed up for the tournament, and I was like, uh-oh.
Well, you're just looking to get some experience, right? Like how far are you trying to sort of take this thing? Like, or do you think you can beat like some, I don't know, big names like, is the Angry Chicken going to be there? Like the Angry Chicken guy?
The angriest chicken?
Yeah.
So yeah, like basically there's a lot of the Canadian Hearthstone players, Silent Storm, Frozen, Syndonia.
Wasn't there a purple guy? Was he?
I don't see purple or hot form. I don't see signed up yet, but you can sign up all the way until Friday at 11:59 p.m. The tournament starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So there's still lots of time for more people to sign up. But yeah, so basically, it's kind of hard to say because it's not like a single and double elimination tournament. It's a Swiss tournament. So what that means is everyone just keeps playing. So the people with, I think it's the top 8 people. Yeah, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. Yeah, so because it goes up to the quarterfinals on day 1. So top 8 people, after the Swiss is done, move on. So the record is basically like your wins and losses. So whoever has the most wins and least losses moves on. And generally in these tournaments, and it does depend how many people you have playing, because obviously more people, more rounds, everything else. But if you have usually 2 or 3 losses is enough to guarantee that you won't be in that top group. But you can keep playing the whole way. So I could just sit there and play Hearthstone for 2 days, which would be really cool. Or I guess 1 day, because once they get into the finals, it changes formats. But at least for the first day, I could play from 9 a.m. until whenever it finishes, even if my record is like 0-7.
Right.
So basically, it's like the way a Swiss tournament works is if you win your first game, so you're 1-0, in the next round, you get matched up against someone else who's 1-0. And then you play. And if you're 0-1, you get matched up against somebody else who lost. And then the 0-2s will play each other, the 1-1s will play each other, and the 2-0s will play each other. And so it kind of goes that way, and you keep, obviously just playing and playing and playing. And I can't remember how many rounds it actually is. But it's best of 3, so it's like super, super fast.
Wow. It sounds like it'll be... It's exciting. Like your first... Like this is your first, like, public tournament. Like you've done tournaments online and
you say tournaments plural, but really I've only ever played in one tournament prior to this. I play my Hearthstone pretty much strictly on ladder. So
but this is your first public tournament. What did I know I pluralized it, but it's still the second tournament, right? So
yes,
it's still plural.
This is my second tournament. Well, you said you've played tournaments online, and I've only ever played one tournament online.
But what I just attack thing, like
but I don't play in it.
Yeah, but you I'm sure you're sizing up competition. I'm like, oh, I could beat that guy. Like his deck, what does he got there? Like an angry chicken deck? That's not right. Like I don't know anything about Hearthstone. Like,
I can tell.
there's the angry chicken. There's some tentacle cards. And then there's going to be a weird disco card.
Yeah.
Like is that 2 days? It's on the 12th, right?
The 11th. So it comes out tomorrow. And that's the thing, that the cards that come available in that wing that comes out tomorrow are actually valid to play. Like they're allowed in the tournament. Whoa. So although there isn't anything really game changing coming out in the first week, I don't think. So should still be pretty safe. Huh?
Is there a disco chicken?
There unfortunately is no disco chicken.
Really, they should have done a tentacle chicken. Like they just really have
they
to
dropped the ball on the number of chicken cards.
The variation chicken cards. Like I think that's kind of their jam now. They have to have that's their mascot, so they have to do a variation with every expansion. And they should have at least done an Indiana Jones chicken for League of Adventurers. I think they did the Murloc.
League of Explorers.
What did I say?
League of Adventurers.
Whatever.
You're trying. It's funny.
They went on an adventure. I know that the Karazhan one takes place in the 70s. I remember that. I gathered that. And I'm going to play it. Adventures are my thing.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board. I did not know it was tomorrow. That's kind of exciting. So, But so wait, you're going to play it probably on the ride up. You're going to get it downloaded and like, all right, Matt, drive me to DreamCon or DreamCon.
DreamHack.
Been that day, man.
I know.
Today, like I said, I had the last 2 days off, and then I went back to work thinking like, oh God, I was off for the last 2 days. There's now going to be 3 days into this one day. This is going to be bad. And it was. It was exactly how I would describe it. So that's why I called DreamHack DreamCon. DreamCon sounds fantastic, though. You just sit and think about all the things you want to do, want to dream about. No, DreamHack. So you're going to play it on the way to DreamHack. That sounds
I am.
like a good plan.
I think what I'm probably going to do is actually turn my phone into a hotspot and then play on the iPad because playing on the phone it's fine when you're playing casually, but I feel like I would just rather play on an iPad.
Cool. No, I agree. I think the phone works in a pinch, but the iPad's certainly like probably the smallest screen you'd want to play at, especially with the touchscreen.
Mm-hmm.
I played a bunch on the iPad and on the iPhone. It works, but it's not ideal. So that's exciting. So pre-show I was saying like, man, you're leaving tomorrow for Dream. That's happening soon. And it's a good solid trip, and you're gonna enjoy Montreal. It's fantastic. You've been before though, haven't you?
No, I've never been. That's actually why we tacked a couple of extra days on to the end of DreamHack, is because I'd never been there. So, and actually, I have to remember to contact Val.
Yes.
Our longtime listener, Val, is from Quebec, so I need to get in touch with her, and hopefully we can do a dinner or something. But yeah, so DreamHack prep has been taking up quite a lot of time, actually. But I'm enjoying it. I think that I'm coming a long way in terms of like branching out and looking at different decks and paying attention to everything that's viable, and it just taking my competitive Hearthstone mindset out of the ladder and into tournaments. It's a totally different beast because there's just so many different levels that you have to think on. You have to think about what classes you're going to ban. You have to think about how you're going to do your matchups because there's a conquest format. So once you win with a deck, you can't play it anymore. And then what decks you're actually going to bring on top of that. So, and then you have to actually play the game. So there's a lot of different levels that you don't actually have when you're playing on the ladder. So I've been fairly successful on ladder, but I'm excited to see how I do. Really, I'm just happy about the fact that I kind of got over my nerves and decided to compete. Yeah. And so just me being in Montreal at DreamHack, sitting in front of a computer and playing Hearthstone is an achievement for me. So That's pretty huge. Much, yeah, I'm really happy no matter how it turns out, even if I lose like 3 games straight. Because even if I lose 3 games straight, that just means I don't have to worry about playing in the tournament anymore. I can drop out and then I can just go watch all the other amazing esports. So
yeah, and you can add that to the things, your list of career achievements is that you played at DreamHack. Like that's a pretty big deal. Even, and I don't think you're gonna lose in the first round. I think that you're gonna go. You're a good Hearthstone player. Like you got to give yourself some credit there. And if it's an open tournament, there's gonna be a lot of people playing in this tournament. Like you mentioned, like the purple guy and the other Canadians. Like those like high level players are gonna be there. But there's probably like. How many people are in the tournament? There's a lot of people.
Well, it's an open tournament, so there's no cap. Right now, there's 85 participants. So, they're like, that's still small. 85 is small for a tournament, but again, like I said, you have to actually be at DreamHack, and I don't think for some reason DreamHack Montreal is just not nearly as popular as DreamHack Austin. So, I hope that there's a lot more people there, but I mean, 85 people still. Yeah, exactly. It is the first year, so but we'll see. Overall, I'm excited. I will keep you guys up to date. You guys can hit up the Joss Plays Discord if you want updates, because that's where I'll be posting them. Sure. And that's also where I'm going to post a bunch of, there and Twitter, I'll post a whole bunch of pictures from the event and stuff. So I'm really excited. It should be good one way or another. And hopefully I'll get to meet a whole bunch of Canadian Hearthstone players, whether, pros or just people who like to play on the ladder or whatever it may be. I'm excited to be surrounded by the whole esports competitive atmosphere, because that's what DreamHack is. Like, it's a little bit different than, say, BlizzCon, because BlizzCon is focused on, there's like the esports and there's the world championships in all of their esports, but it's still a Blizzard marketing tool, like it's very much like panels and information and marketing and seeing all the new stuff and the cinematics and everything else that's happening. So DreamHack is like just esports. It's like all the stages everywhere are just like StarCraft and Smash Bros. And just like, it's just crazy esports tournaments everywhere. So it's a different atmosphere, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a cool big step, and I look forward to seeing how it goes and hearing how it went. Yeah.
So other than DreamHack Prep, I haven't actually been playing, but I know Ryan has, and my roommate's actually been playing, and watching my roommate play is making me really, really glad that I didn't drop the money on this, but we are going to talk a little bit now about No Man's Sky. So
interesting setup for
I know.
A game you have not played.
Like, I know.
I can see that reaction from watching it.
I've watched about an hour of it.
Yeah, and totally. Like that's a standard reaction to watching someone play No Man's Sky. Like it's exactly what I wanted it to be, but I know the internet is a very fickle place and they love to judge things, and the internet has been kind of loving it while also taking a big dump on it, which is not a pleasant image that I just put into my head.
I wonder if it's kind of the Stardew Valley syndrome. I think I'm going to start calling it. Is like, I look at it and I just go, okay, where's the fun?
Yeah, sure. Like that is an honest reaction to watching someone play No Man's Sky, and so for those wondering, like the original trailer that was shown 2 years ago showed someone on a planet, very colorful, hopping into and walking around, seeing animals and sort of discovering and saying like, Sean has discovered this planet, uh, and then he gets in a spaceship and flies off the planet, which to me is kind of like amazing. Like there isn't a game out there where 3D rendered, procedural, like your spaceship actually functions as a spaceship. Like you can get in it and you can fly. You see a planet, in the distance, like when you look up here on Earth and see a moon, you can go fly to it and land on it and discover things. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. And I know watching someone play it, it's kind of those open world scavenger games where you're going around mining things, collecting items, but once you start rolling through the game, that stuff becomes very secondary and you have a lot of the mats that you need to sort of survive and prosper in No Man's Sky. And it sort of becomes as whatever game you want it to set up to be. Like you can go down the path of what is essentially the story, or the quote unquote the framework for the story that's there, and that you're trying to discover what the Atlas is, and you can follow
Oh,
that
okay.
path. Yeah, and
Because basically, so my roommate Adam has been playing it. He's the one who has the newborn, so he's on paternity leave right now,
sure.
and so he's been playing it. And I asked him, I'm like, okay, so what is the point of this game? And he's like, you're supposed to get to the center of the universe. And
Sure.
then he pulled up the sky map, and then there's like a line saying like shortest path to the center, basically.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay. So you just go from planet to planet till you get to the center of the universe, and then what?
Sure. Like, and again, like first impressions are everything. And
But
then
I'd
other
never
people
heard of I'd never heard of this Atlas thing that you're talking about.
You-
Like he literally said, like, this is the path you're supposed to take, and he's like, but I can look at and I can travel to any of these white dots
Yeah.
on the star map. And so again, like I feel like the whole randomly generated planets, like procedurally generated stuff, was just a thing that a developer wanted to do, and then they
Sure.
did it, and then they were like, now what?
They did it and they nailed it. And the procedural generated planets work really well. Like you can go to a solar system and say like, okay, there's 4 planets here, a couple moons, and you can land on all of them. And you when you scan while you're up in space, it'll maybe plop down a couple points of interest and you can go to them. And then while you're on the planet's surface, you can sort of skirt around and find other points of interest. And yeah, how far did he get actually is probably a great question. How far did he get in the game?
Not very. He was kind of like running around and looking at the surface of a planet, fixed up his starship, blasted off, and then made it to another planet. And then there was like a space battle that he said was really hard to control.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
he died. And then it was like
Yep.
having to find all his stuff again was basically the sequence of events.
So the beginning is not strong. The beginning was kind of like, you're on a planet, do you. Just do you and go and survive and you'll have a great time. And that's the beginning of No Man's Sky, where your ship is broken, there's a bunch of debris, and there's some weird ass like spiny looking things over there that look like they want to eat me, but they ain't coming close enough for me to worry right now. And you kind of start, it kind of drops you in, and that's a similar issue I have with a lot of these open world scavenger games where it's like, you just do you, make your own fun, you'll have a great time. And oftentimes you don't have a great time because it's like, well, all I have are my fists, and when I punch a tree, they start to bleed. Like that's not fun. So in this game, you are sort of left to the elements, but then once you start progressing, like they kind of let you ease into it, and then eventually they start saying, hey, you can beeline for the center of the universe by playing the economy and basically just enjoying the exploration aspect of the game, because I think you have to really enjoy. Like yesterday, I've sort of set on a path to find the Atlas and that's another thing that opens up, and it involves more characters and more story and mystery, because there's these layers to the game that you don't quite come across in the first 2 hours. Like the opening is it's very thin, but then it starts to open up, because I don't think it wants to drop a bunch of exposition on you to say like, no, really, you don't want to just beeline for the center. You want to go do this thing. No, you
Hmm.
don't want to trade a bunch of stuff. You want to go do this thing. It's not very heavy-handed in that thing and in that aspect, and maybe that's where some of the people are having the negatives with the game. And the gameplay loop is just a lot of fun. Like last night, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna progress. I'm just gonna like go around this planet, and I'd hop on my ship and I'd pop up, go around, land, go do some stuff. The language progression in the game is very cool. So you are literally an alien dropped in a strange world, and you discover these species that are clearly trying to communicate with you, but you can't understand what they're saying.
Hmm.
So you'll find these like stones of knowledge that say you just learned the word for knowledge in the Gex language. It's like, so now when I talk to a Gek and they say knowledge, the knowledge word translates, but everything else is still gobbledygook, right?
Hmm.
And that to me is like really cool. Like trying to survive in this world, not only from an aspect of mining and survival on planets, but also from the aspect of communication as well, which is really neat for me. It's just a different type of game, and it
Hmm.
goes back to my original like I just like different experiences, and No Man's Sky is really that. But
It reminds me of like what scanning for minerals in Mass Effect would have been
sure,
if you had a first person like go down to the planet experience.
I
Like
think
if
it's
you had to send a probe, click on a bunch of stuff, and then send the probe back to the ship, and then play the rest of Mass Effect, like that, I figured like that mining experience, that sending a probe down, is pretty much No Man's Sky.
yeah,
And it's missing the cool Mass Effect container with all the
sure.
story and all the cool combat and all the everything else. I feel like No Man's Sky is not enough for me to
Sure.
justify such a huge price tag.
It's a big drop of money for this. Like it's an $80 product. It's a single player experience. While there are online features, there is no real multiplayer. Like I remember they said like it's a big universe. You and your friends are playing in this universe, and you will feel their presence, but only in the sense that I could eventually come across a planet that was discovered by your roommate. That says discovered by your roommate, and he named it Buttface Planet 2 or something. So that's the aspect that's kind of the community
So
aspect in
there, you can't actually ever see anybody else in your game.
so that's the caveat, and a lot of people, two streamers actually, like one guy came across a planet that was named um, by this streamer, and he asked the streamer like, "Whoa, like I just discovered your planet that you just discovered like 20 minutes ago. Work backwards and let's try to meet up." And there was some discrepancies there where they were in the exact same spot at the exact same time and they couldn't see each other,
Hmm.
in which the developer has been saying like, yes, you will be able to see each other. That's one of those Easter eggs where you may not know it, but you will see other players in the game, and the only way to tell like what your spacesuit actually looks like is by discovering another player. And they didn't see each other, in which the developer was had said and strongly defended the fact that the game had just come out and they had just done this, and the servers have been kind of hit and miss. Like you can imagine, like I think the first day they had 10 million discoveries, which is
Mm.
kind of crazy. And the fact that this didn't work, I'm surprised the whole game didn't like crash and burn, considering how many people were playing it and how servers usually work on day
Yeah.
one. So that's still up in the air. Eventually, I'm sure like they are being true to their word and you will be able to see other players when you come across them. But there are 18 quintillion planets in the game, which
Yeah.
is kind of
So
astronomical when you think
yeah.
about like two people running into each other in that size of a universe is very unlikely. And the fact that it happened on the first day is kind of like, man, you think you'd actually would have prepared for that just in case it happened. And
Yeah.
knowing this world, like something always the 1% always happens. So yeah, that's another issue that people are having. But I'm just really enjoying it. It's like one of those sit back, relax, explore type games, and it's not one of those games that you're gonna boot up and instantly find pleasure in like right away. Like it's not one of those games that you're gonna, oh, I've done an hour and I feel like I've really accomplished something today. Like you have to kind of find the fun. It's one of those games. And for me, the fun has been like the gameplay loop of landing on planets, traversing to new solar systems, progressing the story, finding new characters. It's really cool, and I'm enjoying the mystery of literally the story being you're awoken in this strange universe and you now have to explore it. And I don't know, they don't really say why you're going to the center of the galaxy.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know why you're going to the center of the galaxy. Really, I'm following the atlas because, like, I don't know, seems interesting. Let's figure out what these giant obelisks are, and that's basically what I've done. But
Hmm.
they do kind of say like, "Hey, you should beeline it for the center of the universe. That's kind of where you want to go." And they may like tell you why, but it wasn't clear to me, and I'm fine with that. I don't necessarily need to beat the game right away.
Hmm.
Um, but like I said, it falls in line with those categories of games that I usually despise, which are the open world survival games, make your own fun. And this one just has the right amount of gameplay for me and the right amount of poking and prodding to go in a specific direction. But no, it's certainly not for everyone. And it's certainly not a game that should be sort of, you know, it's not something you're not really gonna grasp it by watching someone play it. You kind of have to get your controller in your hands, and then once you kind of realize, you kind of have to actually appreciate the fact that what they're doing is they built this procedurally generated world where you can fly to a planet, land, go off the planet, and go to a different one, and that's novel to me. It's really cool.
I was gonna say, how long do you think it's gonna take for that novelty to wear off?
I don't know. That's the thing. I started playing it
Because that
yesterday.
to me, I feel like it could be something like you do it a couple of times and then it's just like, okay, now what? Like,
I've done it more than a couple times. I mean, we can talk about it next week and the week
yeah.
after, and we'll see where we're at. The thing that kind of concerns me is I haven't had those moments that those water cooler moments that you have with these open world survival games where, as you noticed, I haven't talked about a story that was
Hmm.
really like exciting. I've said I've landed on a planet, I've explored, I come off the planet, and I go to a different planet. Like that's really the moment right now that I can use to explain No Man's Sky. But there hasn't been that like, oh my God, I discovered this thing and it was crazy. And then I haven't run across any other planets that other people have discovered. I'm looking forward to that moment. Um, the craziest thing that happened to me is I discovered an animal that kind of looked like Sonic the Hedgehog, so I named him Sonic.
I'm
That's
so proud
crazy.
of you.
I know. It's the first thing I named, and but no, the alien designs, the robot alien designs are really cool, and just the mystery of it all is kind of intriguing to me. But no, yeah, I am really curious to see when the novelty wears off of exploring and landing, but I'm still digging the procedural aspect of it. Like that's really like captured me. Like someone who's a programmer, like kind of looking at the aspect of like this is 6 gigabytes of data and there are 18 quintillion planets that I could possibly visit. Like that's kind of astronomical. Like it's really cool, and I can't wait to play more of it. But it's certainly going to be one of those games where it's like, yeah, I'm going to relax for an hour and go play No Man's Sky. Like it's not like, oh man, I got to go start my Demon Hunter and get him to level 100 and then raid tomorrow. Like it's not the same experience. It's kind of your couch game that you can kind of zone out to.
Mhm.
But looking to jump into No Man's Sky and feel like I don't want to say accomplish something, but 1 or 2 hours at the very start of the game, it starts slow, it's very thin, but as they start to introduce new things to you and you kind of figure out what the game's about, but that's usually my negative comment towards a lot of these open world games. So yeah, it's certainly not for everyone, but give it a shot. Like when you get back from DreamHack, like just sort of like take the controller from Adam, like just tell him his baby's crying, just play it for a little bit. Works all the time. Ashley does it all. It tricks me all the time. Kaden needs you. It's like, yeah, it's true. Let's go do that. And then she's sitting there playing No Man's Sky. No, seriously, give it a shot. I think it's something worth trying. Yeah, the $80 price tag is tough.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it needed to be like half price, but maybe even like $60, like $20 off. I don't know. It's
80 just seems a lot for something that seems super cool in from a programming perspective. Like I'm not saying that this is any kind of small feat or anything. I just feel like it should have been more because and again, you're talking about how much you're enjoying the gameplay, so maybe I shouldn't even necessarily comment on that. But
No, certainly. Like I think these days games are very people base their opinion on visuals. Like we haven't talked about Batman Telltale. I haven't touched it. I've lived up to my word that I will not touch another Telltale game until reviews are well. And it reviewed super well, but then you watch all the videos, it's like frame rates are terrible, the game's crashing, like it's Telltale, more Telltale crap, like in terms of engine and judging a game based on its visuals. Like we have to do that these days because
yeah.
there's so much to
Well,
experience.
and that's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily think that the graphics were anything to write home about from what I
Oh,
saw. And it's so Adam was playing on PlayStation. Is it PlayStation exclusive?
It's console exclusive to the PlayStation. It will be launching on PC in a couple days. I'm
Oh,
actually
okay.
interested to see what it looks like on PC.
Yeah, so that was going to be my follow-up. Is it at least like asterisk console graphics sort of thing?
Sure.
But yeah, so I mean, usually there's kind of three things that you look for, or at least I look for in a game that I really enjoy. So it's, first of all, graphics. Like, are they either super spectacularly realistic, or are they really crisp and awesome and polished in a stylistic kind of a way? So, whatever style they choose, is it visually interesting, I guess is the best way to put it. Then there's story, and then there's gameplay.
Yeah.
And so if you've got what looks like kind of mediocre-ish graphics and no story, or very, very minimal story, and then your gameplay is limited to kind of a little bit of space battle-ish, but mostly focused just on exploring these 18 cajillion, bazillion,
Quintillion.
whatever the alien word is that you use.
It's like 20 zeros, man.
Yeah, like if you're supposed to like get to all of those, or like explore as much of those as you can or whatever, I don't know if that's enough gameplay to kind of push the game. So
Yeah.
if you've kind of got one, maybe two-ish points out of three, because I'm just saying there's no story. No.
It's
Then
there, but it's again, like I'm not as far in, but the story's kind of like you feel this gnawing presence to drag you to follow the Atlas's path, and there's like maybe a couple paragraphs of text and some encouraging words, but there I was hoping for more story and
so my point basically is that just
yeah,
if you're not knocking it out of the park in terms of any of those three things, I don't think you deserve $80. Like, I think you deserve somewhere between 40 and 60.
yeah, I mean,
At $40, I probably would have picked this up. At $60, I would have waited to see reviews. At $80, I'm just like, hell no.
yeah, for me, I just really wanted a different experience, and I wanted to try this on console, and so far I feel like my purchase is, I'm happy with my purchase, and I'm gonna play more of it because it's one of those games that I can just jump back into and go, and it's an offline enough experience that I can pause it, I can boot into it whenever I want just to kind of book around. And but you're right, like I appreciate the graphics. I think for me they check that box. There are some like landscaping things that are really cool, and that knowing everything is procedurally generated, those graphics are pretty phenomenal in the way that they're displayed. Even the animals are procedurally generated, and you kind of see where they've connected like what is clearly a rabbit's feet but also like a giraffe's head. It looks a lot better than the way I'm describing it, but it's just really neat on that aspect. And even the I think the flora is sort of procedurally generated as well, and you can tag everything, and it's really just about exploration. And the gameplay is the gameplay loop of like visiting planets and hopping up and going to different subsystems. Like that's the gameplay loop that's really fantastic. But no, the space combat is frustrating. I died with my first one. Like that's, to me, is not the beauty of this game, and it's unfortunate because when you're given a spaceship with guns, you kind of want that to be good. But
Yeah.
the gunplay is also not excellent as well. Like you do get a gun, and it's used for mining, which works really well because it just shoots a laser and then shit flies at your face, and it says you pick shit up, and it's like great. But when you shoot like bad guys, it's pretty infuriating in that you don't have to aim, but you have to have your reticle over them when you hit the shoot button. So you'll shoot, and you'll
Isn't that
hit them.
basically aiming?
No, but like you can like wildly go around and clearly look like as you're shooting you're gonna miss them, but still hit them. And then when things hit you, your screen goes red, and then there's a little arrow saying where they were, but you're
Hmm.
not taking health. Your shield just dropped a little bit.
Hmm.
So visually, there are some things that I'm not as big a fan of, but combat is not front and center. Like combat is something you don't want to happen. You don't want to get into fights with carnivores and stuff. Like you kind of want to either stomp some little bugs that happen to be carnivores, or you want to get the f out when some giant animal. I haven't come across giant animals yet either, which I know they exist because they were in the original trailer, but I haven't come across them yet. Which is, and that's the other thing too. Like with such a big game, I'm wondering if again this is another like layer I have to crack through before we start getting to planets that are clearly inhabited by bigger beasts. Like these are maybe like the fringe planets are more younger and there's less like things to get in your way of gameplay, but because there's no one knows anything about this game and everyone's experienced it at the same time, you really get those first impressions that have risen to the top. And sometimes you have a really strong first impression, like I'm talking about now, or you have kind of a I don't know first impression, like your experience with Adam's gameplay. And is Adam enjoying it? Because it sounds like he shares the same opinion that you have.
Yeah, he is enjoying it. Like he does.
He dropped $80, so
Yeah, he exactly. So he wants to keep going back and playing,
course.
but I wonder how much of that is driven by the price tag. But yeah, I think overall it's kind of a meh, kind of a maybe. Maybe check out some streams and see what you think. And if you need a console only kind of experience that's a little bit offline and pausable and all that kind of stuff, a little bit more sit back and relax type of a title, then maybe No Man's Sky might be for you.
Sure.
That brings us to our wonderful glassware ad. And actually, I don't have anything right in my hands right now. But if you'd like to get your hands on some A-Move swag, you can go to bit.ly/A-Move store. And actually, I think there's 2 different links now. And I'm going to just try, I think it's etched.amove.tv, maybe?
Live.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, it is etched and I think shirts.amove.tv. Yes. Okay. So if you go to etched.amove.tv or shirts.amove.tv, that is where you can find all of our super fun swag. So you can get all kinds of things like the glassware we've been talking about for a while. So the pint glasses, the wine glasses, and the full color mugs. Or you can head on over and grab some of the shirts that we had made for CreateCon. So there is an Angry Chicken shirt, a Let's Talk About Star Wars shirt, and an Into the Nexus shirt, all of which are at shirts.amove.tv. That brings us to, I guess, what we can call our topic of the week this week.
Sure.
But yeah, basically we are going to, and I'm going to put the image up now, we are going to talk all about Warcraft spoilers. Ba-ba-ba.
Dun, dun.
So this is your disclaimer. I am going to say right now, if you have not played the Broken Shore scenario, and if you have not actually started a Demon Hunter, because the Demon Hunter ends in the same place as the scenario ends, so if you haven't done this content, stop listening to the sound of my voice. I mean it. This is something you definitely don't want spoiled for you. Unfortunately, I had both parts spoiled for me, the Alliance side and the Horde side. Horde side I had spoiled for me months ago in Raid because some people are just jerks like that. And then I had the Alliance side spoiled for me, and I'm going to tell you how, but first I'm going to say Warcraft spoilers. This is your warning.
And this isn't a joke. This isn't like, the bad guy dies at the end. This isn't you get a cool helm. Like these I mean, originally when people were saying, including you, saying like, oh, I got spoiled. I'm like, really? Like what, the demons invade? Like, I don't know that. No, seriously. Like,
I love how you're just like, oh my god, Jocelyn's overreacting. What is her problem?
It's just, to me, it's...
Because I was really pissed. I
understand
pissed.
why now. Like... If I had heard these spoilers, it'd be like, well, that kind of ruins the surprise moment. And I didn't know going in. Like, I hadn't had it spoiled. Like, I've actually been very good at avoiding WoW in general for the last year and a half. Like, I just resubbed, like, yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, yesterday was my big gameplay day. Like, I played a bunch of No Man's Sky, a bunch of WoW. actually fell into a big blizzard hole. Like I even bought Ariel on Heroes of the Storm, which is fantastic. But yeah, no, with Broken Shore or Broken, is it Broken Shore? I could never.
So Broken Isles is the area. The Broken Shore is basically us landing on the Broken Isles and that first confrontation. So that's what the scenario is called, is the Broken Shore.
Okay. So yeah, I played that scenario with my Warlock. I jumped in and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wait, don't I
get spoiled.
Yeah, no, I was going to talk about how I got spoiled first. So yeah, basically, I had the Horde side spoiled in a raid because basically one of my raid mates was just like, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like having Sylvanas as our war chief." And I was like, "Fuck you!" Like, and I'm sorry, and I'm gonna have to go and find that and bleep that out. But like, I was so mad. I was just like, "Oh my god, what the hell? Like, who does that?" So and that was like 2 months ago. Like that was like way as soon as it was available, like PTR. I was just like, come on.
That's just a weird thing. Like, so you were spoiled the fact just that Sylvanas was war chief, but also did you like the cause of that was spoiled as well, or?
Well, no. So I didn't actually know like why. I didn't know if Vol'jin had actually died, because then they kept talking about it, and I closed Mumble. I dropped right out of our raid chat, and I just typed in chat. I'm like, when you guys are done with spoilers, then maybe I'll come back. And that was literally the last time I raided until like a week ago. But yeah. So somebody else who actually works at Blizzard is also on my raid team. And so he kind of
name drop
jumped in and
you
said,
didn't even drop the name.
I didn't even say the name. Yeah.
Still, that's like a pretty big name drop. Like a guy who works at Blizzard also is in my raid. So
like someone said something about Sylvanas, and then I was like, okay, this other person was just like, said something along the lines that made me think that Vol'jin died, but then that also like he might have survived, but just kind of like
survived for a little bit.
Like I had to give up his war chiefness, right? So I didn't 100% know what Vol'jin's fate was, but I did know that one way or another Sylvanas had become our war chief, and I was like, man. And actually, Nightvale in the chat room is kind of getting at how I had the Alliance side spoiled for me. So basically, Nightvale in the chat room is saying when they did the pre-patch, they changed her title, and that's what just. Like, if you had any reason to be in any place where Sylvanas's NPC was, her title was War Chief. So it's just like, you're spoiling your own damn content, Blizzard. Like, what the hell? So basically what happened was after pre-patch, our guild, they run events every, I guess, 3 months or so. And so the Summer of Love is what they call it. And there are all kinds of different things that they do as part of the Summer of Love. And one of them is we get a big group together. We PvP by going to all of the Alliance capitals and killing the leader. And then that's so that everyone in the guild can have the Black War Bear, which is the reward for the Horde achievement. Mm-hmm. So we do this usually somewhere between twice and 4 times a year, depending on how many events the guild actually organizes. And I've been a part of it for probably 2 years now. And so I go on the support side just to help people get the achievement and to do the actual PvP part, which is essentially keeping the Alliance away so that we can kill the NPCs. And so we went to Stormwind first and killed Varian, and that no longer grants the For the Horde achievement. So, like, the achievement itself, when you go look at it, says, like, kill the leader of the Alliance or whatever, and it says Anduin Rin instead of Varian. And I was like, God damn it.
That seems like an odd thing to patch in.
So, yeah, basically the pre-patch was, like, all the changes in the achievements, all the changes in titles and stuff. And so, yeah, the pre-patch was, like, I guess, yeah, a week ago. And yeah, so I had the Alliance side, the fact that their leader was killed as well, spoiled for me that way. So then I was just like, man, I've had the 2 major plot points, but again, no context. So basically, I just knew that Varian was no longer the leader of the Alliance, and Vol'jin was no longer the leader of the Horde, and that probably meant that they both died.
Which shit, like, Gul'dan's a thorough son of a gun, isn't he? Like,
The one thing I didn't have spoiled for me, although it was kind of I guess rumored-ish,
Sure.
was the death of Tyrion, because you get, as a paladin, you get Ashbringer, which is Tyrion's sword. So
That
it's
seemed
kind
like a bit of a just, and we're gonna kill this guy too. Like, I know Tyrion Forgebringer or whatever. He's pretty famous. Like,
Forging, yeah.
Yeah, Forgebringer. And here's your forge, sir. He's a big guy in WoW lore, but to kill him with just I'm just gonna use this demon to spit fire all over him, and his shield's gonna suck. Like, it seems a bit like. I guess if you're killing both the leaders at the end of that scenario, like just tossing Tyrion Fordring in for shits and giggles isn't, I guess, as big a deal. But to me, that kind of felt weird. Like he had just been like, what's his story? Like he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, he has been. And so he is currently, or I guess was, the leader of the Argent Crusade.
Oh,
I think. Which were from Wrath of the Lich King.
Okay.
I think I'm trying to remember. Because they were the big kind of force when you did the Death Knight, starting area and the Eastern Plague Lands, all the Lights Hope Chapel stuff, all of that. Post Lich King was actually. Tyrion was the head of that faction.
Oh, okay.
So he's like the super big paladin guy.
So what was he doing? Just hanging about, like?
Well, that was the first wave that they sent into the Broken Shore, which they kind of glossed over, I guess, a little bit. What the first wave was all the Argent Crusade.
Oh, so the entire Argent Crusade is gone. It's kaput.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Pretty much.
Right. Well, shit.
But yeah, so Tyrion and his warriors or his paladins, I guess, were the first line going into the shore and got pretty much decimated, and then he died.
So I kind of figured like that was the death in the scenario, because like this is a pre-patch scenario, something that you won't be able to do ever again. Like I think that's how pre-patch scenarios work, right? They kind of go away.
That's what they did with 5.3. That was the rebellion. The Darkspear Rebellion, so that was Vol'jin leading basically the horde that wasn't the orcs against Garrosh in Orgrimmar. And that patch only lasted like 6 weeks or something, and then after it was over, it was gone. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how long you're going to be able to do this scenario, but the Sylvanas Vol'jin cinematic anyway isn't going anywhere, because that is part of the Demon Hunter, like the start of that, or I guess the end of that starting zone. Sorry.
Okay. Which, I mean, like when you put everything into perspective, that cinematic is the best part about it. Like the scenario is pretty much autopilot. Like I hadn't played WoW in a year and a half, and I just basically fumble my way through it, because you just kind of now, mind you, maybe once the groups aren't fully fleshed out and huge, and there's a lot of people there. It was really cool to see that like the Alliance was doing it at the same time. Like that was all, we were all queued into the same scenario, mm-hmm. or is that just a fakery?
I think you're all queued into the same thing.
Okay, because that was really neat. I appreciated that aspect of it, and for someone who hasn't played WoW in that long, and including raiding, it was kind of really cool to just be this like murder ball. But it was also weird to be that murder ball and then kind of see characters dying. Like at the end, that was different, but in terms of the actual murder
you played
ball,
through on Horde side?
I played through twice on Horde side, because I boosted a priest as well and went through again, which is interesting. I never boosted before, and that like does your training and then just literally takes you to the scenario to similar to what probably is done with the Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't experience Alliance. I did YouTube the slightly changed video. I think it swaps one scene for another.
Well, in the Alliance version, like you see it from below, because basically what happens in this scenario is, first of all, you queue in with a whole bunch of different people, and I didn't know that, because the only time that we've ever had scenarios before in Warcraft was Pandaria, and they were 3-man. So I kind of like, I queued, and it's like, you've queued for the scenario, and I was like, okay, and then like it didn't immediately throw me in, so I was like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, I'm in this ginormous raid with like 20 other people, and I was like, okay, kind of didn't want this experience, but I also didn't want anything spoiled. So I was like, basically the people in my raid were being real big jerks, like making fun of like, well, when Tyrion died, like making fun of when Tyrion died and everything else. So like, I moved it to a new window, but still, like I couldn't have guild chat open because I didn't want guild chat to be talking about it and spoiling it. So,
Right.
yeah, I had stupid jerks in my instance, but anyways, I thought it did a really good job. Basically, what happens is, you kind of come up from two different beachheads and then meet where Tyrion dies. The Alliance is on one side, the Horde is on the other side. You're fighting this big monster in the middle that killed Tyrion. Mm-hmm. And then once you defeat that monster, you move further up. The Alliance goes kind of at ground level to confront Gul'dan, and the Horde goes up onto a cliff to do like archers and cover and everything else. And there's also there's a portal that's opened at the top. And that's where, so there's wave after wave of demons coming in through that portal. And I thought it did a really good job from the Horde side anyways of really, like, I was very close to death. And this could have just been because we had crappy healers or people weren't paying attention or whatever. But I really felt like I was really close to death. I did have to because at one point Sylvana says like, fall back to me. And I really felt like I was getting overwhelmed and had to they did a good job of balancing the groups and balancing the scenario. And at least the time that the way that I played through. But
the last part of the scenario was very well done in the sense that you feel overwhelmed and like you actually are going to fail. But still, your raid isn't wiping. Like I appreciated that cinematic trickery of like, we have to pull back because this mob is just this. Their murder wall is now happening, and you pull back and you're like, oh crap! Like this is happening. We are losing.
Yeah, they did have. They had NPC priests who were healing and rezzing. So
yeah, they did that very well, and this being my first experience back into the game sets a very high bar for the remainder of Legion, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's similar. It's a similar sort of, for me anyways, it's a similar reaction to what I had with No Man's Sky, and then like I'm looking forward to playing more WoW because that's my laid back keyboard game. Hit a couple buttons, do some cool shit, interact with some people. Like it's not gangbusters. It's not like the next Batman game or something where it's a fully involved sort of cinematic experience. Well, it's certainly cinematic, but like in terms of a gameplay standpoint, you're not.
It wasn't really hard. It wasn't like a raid. It wasn't a full raid encounter type experience.
And I've never really enjoyed like the raid experience. It feels like banging your head against the wall twice a week for a couple hours with your best friends. Like that's a bad raid experience. But no, I appreciated that as the intro, and I'm looking forward to playing through the campaign content to kind of see where the story goes. Because man, oh man, I think this is I didn't even hate Arthas this much. Like, and Arthas killed a whole bunch of people and was kind of a dick in Wrath of the Lich King. And Gul'dan, they just nailed the bad guy. Like they really set him up as someone you want. I didn't even hate Garrosh this much. It's like he did some stupid stuff. He went back in time, but that story still felt like kind of tongue in cheek. But Gul'dan, this is serious business.
Yeah, and I feel like, well, first of all, Gul'dan has now caused the death of two leaders, like two faction leaders. So we saw the death of Vol'jin, which I legit cried, and it was really, really sad. And then also the death of Varian, and it was really like the Gul'dan line right at the end of that, right before he kills Varian, was literally like, you'll be known as the man who died. And then and he kind of pauses, and then I thought he was gonna say like his people or something, and that like at least you're dying for your people, and then he's like, for nothing. And I was like, cold, man. Like cold.
What is up his loincloth? Like what's going on there that he is a tortured being, and he has to not only like explode Varian from the inside, but kind of like do it slowly, where he's clearly in pain and writhing in pain, and it was kind of like
It was
not only
hard to
very,
watch.
it was hard to watch, and I watched it twice, and it's like this is both sad and kind of a little like, ugh, like he is in some serious pain right there,
Hmm.
and even Vol'jin, passing, like, yeah, that was a very sad moment watching a leader fall, and I don't have nearly the same emotional connection to these characters that you do, but I still felt it, like this guy passing away, and then basically getting a whole other cinematic on the Horde side where Vol'jin's on his deathbed and they pass the war chief onto
Hmm.
Sylvanas, which is another huge character development from Wrath of the Lich King, where she, murders a bunch of people with those undead bombs. I think is from if I recall correctly, but to her being the war chief is kind of like finally the undead are getting their due, because whenever they talk about the horde, like the undead's sort of like, and there's a dude that doesn't have a face over there, like, behind the trolls, behind the Taurens, there's
Well,
a
I
good guy.
think, yeah, I think that Sylvanas is a fantastic choice for War Chief. I'm really excited. I was excited about Vol'jin, and so I'm sad that he's gone because I feel like we didn't really get to see him. He didn't have much of a story
No.
in, well, there wasn't much of a story in general in Warlords, but he really didn't get a chance to shine. Like we had Thrall, and he really had his chance to shine, and then we had Garrosh, and Garrosh ended up being the big bad, and then we had this one in between expansion, and we had Vol'jin, and he didn't really do much, and then now he's dead. Like I was sad. I was
It
sad.
kind of felt like a checkbox, right? Like, okay, let's kill both leaders. Like, and it was a good checkbox because it really set Gul'dan up as this wicked baddie, and you
Well,
know,
and the thing is, with Gul'dan being so easy to hate, I guess, and being kind of the most hated villain, because like Garrosh dropped the mana bomb on Theramore, like he did some terrible things.
I don't remember that.
Oh
So
yeah, he decimated Jaina's city.
sure,
You
it
should really
happened,
you
and
should read Tides of War because it's actually really really sad. But
I mean, like that was a scenario, right? That Theramore
yes,
thing.
it was. It was.
So
You're right.
was it as impactful? Because I will be
No,
honest, I
it
never played
wasn't.
it.
So I think
I know a lot of people were not happy about it.
when you played through the Theramore scenario, I don't even know. Yeah, I can't. I think I only did it once or twice, but I don't remember it actually showing like the bomb and the aftermath or anything. I feel like it was just like you had to get in and get out, and you had to do something, assassinate someone or get something before the
Mm.
bomb fell. Like it was kind of a timer, but it wasn't like the book is way better
Okay.
because it's
Well,
Jaina's perspective, right? So
and Jane is now this like weirdly upset person with
well,
silver
and
hair.
it's because of Theramore. So that's all as a result of Theramore. So she was very much more like Anduin, where she was like friends with Thrall, trying to get like people in the Alliance and Horde to talk to each other and cooperate and all the rest of it. And everyone, specifically Varian, kept saying to her like, "No, they're the Horde. They can't be trusted. They're terrible. This, that, and the other thing." And she was like, "No, no, no. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." And then Garrosh dropped a mana bomb on Theramore, which was her city, and she was there, and they killed Ronan, and she only survived, and she still got blasted, which is why her hair's white. But she only survived because Ronan pushed her through the portal. And then so she was basically like, screw the Horde. They're the worst. They destroyed my whole entire city and all of my friends and blah, blah, blah. She took over the Kirin Tor and banned the Horde from Dalaran, which because there's mentions
Oh,
of the Horde being allowed back into Dalaran
I did see
potentially.
that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, she barred the Horde from entering Dalaran, and she's now basically been like, screw them.
Yeah, I can understand that sentiment, and then my concern is they've set up Legion really well, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to play my Demon Hunter, and I'm excited to progress through Legion. We did this before. We did this with Draenor. Everyone was super stoked. They loved it. It launched. They loved it. Then 3 months down the road, it was just like people were very upset, and I'm hoping we get the opposite experience. I'm just waiting because again, like we talked about this earlier, like the internet is a very fickle beast, and like what is now like this darling child. I want them to stick the landing, I want them to continue to do really well. And I think if these are their first feet forward, then this is a very good sign that this is going to be probably one of the best expansions ever made in terms of both story and gameplay. But
Well, and
I'm
they're
cautiously
also
optimistic.
they're clearly like I don't know what's actually, and Foxy Lady in the chat room is bringing up the exact point that I was just going to bring up. I don't know what there is left to do, assuming we prevail and beat the Legion this time. Like there's not too much.
Yeah, they already
I
went
guess
back in time,
Titans
right?
and old gods, like, but even then, like, Sargeras is a Titan, so if we actually fight Sargeras in this expansion, like, he's literally the big bad Warcraft evil. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Unless we, I don't really know. Unless we follow the Illidan path, which I think is a good segue into Demon Hunters.
Sure.
But unless we follow the Illidan path and actually start exploring off of Azeroth and basically
Argus?
taking the fight, to Argus.
Which just looks like Outland except more green. Like that's like you play Argus in the Demon Hunters, don't you?
No, you're not actually on Argus, I don't
Oh.
think.
Okay. Well, as long as it doesn't look like another Outland, I think that'll be cool. I
But
like
yeah,
the idea of-
there's a lot of demon fell, so it's basically black and green, the Demon Hunter starting zone. And I thought it was really, really well done. Although I was a little bit confused about what's her name, Maeve or Maeve or whatever, Shadow Song, the warden, because there is, and I guess the novels aren't necessarily completely canon, I guess. I don't know, because she was like, she went crazy and tried to kill a whole bunch of people because the High Elves were trying to return to the Night Elf city, and she like snapped and went crazy, and she was like blaming them for Illidan and the demons, and like killed a whole bunch of people, and they imprisoned her. But then all of a sudden she's there helping the demon hunters escape. So it was what happened after Burning Crusade. I can't remember which novel it was, but there was definitely a novel where she just went nuts and then they threw her in prison. So I was like, huh.
Oh, I know that in the Tomb of Sargeras audiobook, which is 4 parts, very digestible.
Ooh, and
it's an hour total.
I haven't listened to that yet.
Yeah, and she pops up, and she's kind of a little like hard-sided, but she's there, and
she's like one of my least favorite characters in Warcraft. I might even go as far as to say one of my least favorite characters in gaming in general. I really do not like her character.
Yeah, Van saying Maeve tried to kill Malfurion. Like, Emerald Dream is another one they could go to next.
That's true.
I think isn't Emerald Dream like in some fashion showing up in this expansion? I thought it was.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit of that now, but with the Demon Hunters, while the starting area is really cool and it's like one giant scenario of what I've played. I'm about halfway through, and it's story all the way throughout, and they digest like the 2 levels there in just this one long story segment. There's no fluff there, it feels like, and that's really neat. And the thing that I really appreciate about the Demon Hunters, it solves one of my biggest issues with WoW, is that as an MMO, a lot of the gameplay is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's what do they call it? Your rotation. Like, that's how MMOs work, or they did, 10 years ago when WoW launched. And MMOs these days have sort of transitioned to a more action-based combat, and that's, I think, that where the Demon Hunters come in is it's very action-based. It's very like movement based. Like, you have your double jump, you have your glide, you also have your one move, which basically shoots you forward. There's some comboing in there, which is really cool.
There's a lot
really
of really
appreciate
good,
it.
yeah, and I think they did a really good job of kind of drip feeding it to you. Like, every time you complete a quest, you get a new ability, and the way they explain that is really cool too, which they explained in the Illidan novel. Basically, it was just saying that the Demon Hunters are corrupted night elves and blood elves who essentially absorb demons when they kill them. There's a very kind of gruesome description of how that actually happens in the book. But basically, yeah, they absorb the essence of the demons, and that's why they look how they do, and that's why they have the whole no eyes thing like Illidan, because they have the same magical sight, which is a demonic power. But yeah, like I think they did a really good job of introducing you to a new class, and the pacing of it was really, really interesting. Mm-hmm. And you get to choose whether you want to tank or whether you want to do damage. And basically, I was really, really impressed with the whole thing. And also, I think what probably was my favorite part, and you may not actually be there yet.
Sure.
So I don't know how much I'm actually going to say, but there is one point post Burning Crusade stuff, because the attack on the planet that you're currently playing through happens at the same time as the end of Burning Crusade,
which I thought was very cool in that they've clearly set the story in a pre-expansion, like, man, a long time ago. And Burning Crusade was my jam. Like, that's what I was really into the game, and then kind of like plateaued with Wrath of the Lich King. So I really like that they've gone back and then brought us forward. But yeah, I am still Burning Crusade-ish.
Did you actually read the Illidan book at all, or did you look up the plot of what happens? Is that something you're interested in?
I think at this point,
I think the book was actually pretty shitty. Like the writing was really not great. I think it was interesting to see the kind of like what was going on from Illidan's perspective during Burning Crusade, but I did not enjoy the actual writing. Christy Golden didn't write it. It was somebody else.
Was it Knack? Because I know like
Knack is my least favorite. This was better than Knack, but yeah, still, I feel like it was like William somebody. I can't remember. But anyways, I didn't feel that the writing was that strong. Like a lot of the combat scenes were like, and then he did a flip and separated so-and-so's head from their shoulders. And then he flipped again and separated so-and-so's head from theirs. Like, it was just really, really repetitive. And I was just like, okay, this isn't really, like, interesting.
So, William King. So you're saying I should just look up a description? Because it's kind of like a book, like a Warcraft book to get me excited for the expansion. Because I am excited. I'm more, I was not as excited when last night I realized, like, crap, I resubbed. I did the scenario. I started my Demon Hunter. I did an invasion. What the hell am I going to do for 3 weeks? Like, I even started my priest, so my priest at 100. Like, I guess I could start my 90 boost and maybe go through Draenor again, but I don't want to do that. Although I could do it from the Alliance side and maybe experience that a bit. But I do want to play WoW. I'm excited. And now I have a priest, a warlock, and I think I was going to do a panda of some kind. I don't know. Oh, and I have my Demon Hunter. But yeah, I'm going away for a week at the end of August, and it's like a book might be good, and especially since I'm going to be away during the launch of Legion. But you're saying it's not as good, and I know War Crimes is
the
like
book
your
is kind of well, yeah, War Crimes is fantastic, and this doesn't hold a candle, but at the same time, it does paint Illidan in a different light, which is really interesting. But what I was going to say is my favorite part of the Demon Hunter starting area is actually post Burning Crusade, so it's the part that you play through before you make it to whatever your capital city is, and so you actually end up going through, I'm trying to phrase it so it's not too spoilery, but there's a point where you're on an elevator and the elevator is open to the sides, and you can see some really cool stuff off the side of the elevator, and it goes by pretty quickly, but it was, I thought, really, really cool. So kind of keep your eyes open for when you hop on an elevator and just kind of look out the sides of the elevator, because it was neat.
Fel Reaver? Because when
there's no Fel Reaver.
I heard that sound in the post, in the end of the Broken Shore cinematic, and where Varian kills the giant walking thing. It's like, oh my god, Fel Reaver.
PTSD there.
Yeah, a little bit. So no, I'm looking forward to finishing off the Demon Hunter stuff shortly, and I'm really appreciating the more action-based combat, and I do dig Illidan's story, because he was one of my favorite characters in Warcraft 3. Like, any characters that were heavily involved in Warcraft 3, it makes me sad that those characters aren't done justice in the expansion. Like, is it Tyrande? Like, yeah, she's in it, but she's just sort of one of those, like, I'm a night elf who rides a cheetah. Yeah. You know, like, she just hangs around. Same with Malfurion.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice that Varian Rin is starting to get his own stuff, and then they like killed him. But same with the troll. Like Thrall is obviously your go-to, but like I don't know, like there's not a whole. And now Sylvanas is getting her due,
Her
and
time to shine, yeah.
yeah,
So
and
yeah, I am excited about the new war chief. Except for the fact, like I kind of thought it was going to be a Sylvanas war chief Vol'jin mentor situation. So the fact that he actually died does make me really sad. But at the same time, like at the end when he's on the pyre and she's like, "Who among you will help me avenge him?" I was just like, "Yes, me, I will." Pew 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 rar. Like.
The thing is about Sylvanas being the war chief is kind of more divisive than Garrosh being the war chief, because like she's undead, like she represents like the fall of Lordaeron and Arthas, and just kind of there's still that stigma to her, and also the fact that they think that they retreated, and now the Horde's like, not only did you retreat and make the alliance fall, but you put an undead in charge, like you didn't even put someone living in charge. Like, Sylvanas is clearly pissed. Like, what are you doing?
I do think that she's an excellent choice because she was the high elf general. Like, she was a ranger general before Arthas killed her. That's how she died, is she was leading the elven army against Arthas. So I think she's
the war doctor. We need the war doctor.
I think she's a really, really, really great choice, and it's going to be a great expansion because of, the role that she's going to play. So I'm excited to see that. But I guess the last thing to talk about after Demon Hunters is the invasions that you get to do, which essentially is like world boss quest type content. Mm-hmm. Which is really, really neat. So basically, once you've completed the scenario, then Azeroth begins to be invaded. And so you can travel to different locations on Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, and you go to a whole bunch of zones that, unless you've been leveling, you probably haven't visited in a very long time. And whatever
Barrens.
Like my first one that I did was in the Barrens as well.
Yeah.
And I guess the Southern Barrens, because it was defending the crossroads. So whatever kind of the major city is in the zone starts to be invaded by demons. And so there's a whole bunch of different phases that you go through, and you have to kill a whole bunch of demons with the help of everyone else who's actually there at the same time. So, I mean, when I've been doing these invasions, there's been like 40, 50, 60 people all in the same place because there's only one invasion active at any one time. So it basically pulls everybody into the same place, and you have to beat these bosses that can basically like one-shot you. I don't know how tanks are staying alive, but it's really fun though. I'm really, really liking it.
Yeah, I'm the invasion stuff. I did one. It was neat. I'm interested to see, like, besides grinding out for some gear that you can buy, like there's really no reason to do it again, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of, it was interesting, and it was really neat to kind of see the whole zone be involved in this aspect, and maybe that's what I do. Like I said, I have 3 weeks to sort of burn and want to
I've been trying to log in and do invasions, because basically what happens is they last for 4 hours. Once you do it, you can't do it again, but you can do the next one that spawns in 4 hours. So you could do it once in that 4 hour window, but you don't have to do it right away. It just means that, anyone who's already done it, it's no longer available to them. But basically they pop up once every 4 hours, and when you do them, you get chests, and that gives you gear. So
and that gear has been replacing,
and the gear is
my
better.
epics.
Okay, yeah. So I have all purples. My gear is all 700 or 710 PvP gear. Plus, I have a lot of 695 and 700 and 710 from like raid gear. So I have two different gear sets. I have a PvP gear set and I have a raid gear set. And this stuff that's dropping, the blues that are dropping from these invasions are better than my raid gear and my PvP gear. And I'm just like, damn it. Yeah. And I know that this happens to everybody, every expansion, but this is my first experience. Draenor is the first time that I actually started leveling with everybody else, went through the expansion, did all the PvP grinding, did all the raiding, and to just have your gear, like all the stuff that you worked for, just replaced by blues, like before the expansion even launches, like, oh man.
It's
it would have been nice to have a little bit of a I raided a lot or I PvP'd a lot, whatever. Have that give you a little bit of a boost through the start of the next expansion, but
Well, usually
That's
it
not
does.
happening. Yeah.
You know, like if you've gone the extra step, you kind of maybe like the first starting zone, maybe a little bit of this first starting zone, you're not you're like, oh, I can actually vendor this. It's not replacing my purples, and that's fine. But it's something you experience. But now that you're right, like
And
yeah,
maybe it's because it is the pre-launch event, so it's possible that they're trying to give you a bonus for participating in stuff that's
yeah.
actually before Legion. So it could be that the quest gear is not going to replace these blues and won't replace your purples from Draenor, but yeah, as of right now, I'm just kind of like, oh, that piece is better. Oh, that piece is better too. Oh no. Okay.
I did get some gear from the invasion, so I do take that back. I do need to play them more, and they were fun. Like it was kind of neat, like experiencing their new like in window cinematic where people are talking, which is very cool and used throughout the Demon Hunter
Hmm.
area. But yeah, taking on some demons and having them spew like just green shit everywhere and taking them down with a large swath of people. Like when I did it, it was packed. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm expecting the servers to go down any second now, but servers stood up pretty well.
Hmm.
And on launch day, I was kind of worried about resubbing on Demon Hunter Day because I figured it would just be like
Yeah,
a billion people, but it
I
was
didn't have any
calm.
issues whatsoever with
Yeah,
servers.
I did the scenario. I think I got the server started to have a little bit of hiccups, and which I went away for 20 minutes and came back, and it was fine. And um, hopefully that bodes well for Legion's actual launch. But them doing this in sort of in waves and getting the initial surge of people in early. Like I kind of like that they've put the Demon Hunter stuff in there like 3 weeks ahead
Hmm.
because it kind of gives people like me who are jumping back in for the expansion an excuse to jump in early, which lessens the unexpected load on launch day, which is
Hmm.
is really cool, and I'm glad they've done it. So all in all, I'm happy to be back playing WoW because, like I said, it holds a very special place in my gaming heart. Like it's always going to be the MMO I go back to. And the fact that they've addressed one of my major concerns with MMOs, which is like more action, please. It's been a blast, and I can't wait to level my Demon Hunter through Legion. That's sort of
Hmm.
like my dream. Just like with Burning
I think
Crusade, I
that's
can't wait to
everyone's
be a
dream.
Blood
Like I
Elf.
have seen so many demon hunters. Like everyone's
Yeah.
just running around Orgrimmar on demon hunters. It's pretty crazy, but
It's the
it's a
new
new Death
thing.
Knight.
Yeah, and the Death Knight, for me, like I did the starting zone. It's like I don't really want to do this Outland because I think you had to go into Outland with them. Like they didn't like.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you started at like by the time you were done, you were like 55 or something. You definitely weren't ready for Lich King, the
Yeah, which was
expansion.
kind
Yeah.
of a mistake, I think.
Yeah.
And I
Which
know
they
a lot of
clearly
people.
learned from because
Oh yeah,
you finish a demon hunter when you finish their starting zone, then you are at 100. So,
yeah, and it works well for the story too. Like you said, when you finish, you go right into Broken Shore, and I love that it just plays into the story. Whereas with the Death Knights, it was kind of like I don't know, you're running away from the Lich King, and now you're
yeah.
you're gonna help the Alliance and Horde. It's like cool, but this is more story based, and the actual inclusion of Demon Hunters like works really well within the story, especially since like Demon Hunters were this like not cool people. So yeah, I'm glad they've nailed the hero class. It's fantastic, and I
Yeah.
know people like their Death Knights, like that's fine, but it just didn't stick for me like this has so far. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Uh, Tat Tat Thompson in the chat room is confirming
Thompson.
that you start at 55, and once you're done with those quests, you were 58, and you had a portal to Outlands. So
Yeah,
you
that
then had
was
to do the expansion prior to going into Lich King. So I'm glad that they learned because I would not want to do Draenor with a demon hunter. I think that would be silly. Yep.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
I think that's it. I think basically,
I
if you have enjoyed our Warcraft spoiler talk, then there's going to actually be a lot of Warcraft content coming up on A Move. I think I think Kyle is organizing a leveling stream or something, and
nice.
there's going to be lots of dungeon stuff, lots of PvP stuff. We're basically going to be streaming quite a lot of our kind of first month in Warcraft. So make sure
Cool.
that you go and subscribe to twitch.tv/AMoveTV, where all of this fantastical Warcraft content will actually be streamed. So yeah, I guess if that's your jam, then make sure you tune in once Legion actually launches on August 30th, which is like 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. Oh man, it's gonna come up really quick.
Yep. So just want to remind everybody, although I will not be here, Ryan is going to do some streaming on twitch.tv/JossPlays tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I think you're going to play No Man's Sky so everyone can see how boring it is.
I don't know. We'll see. I actually would need the living room to do that, but yeah, it's after explaining why it's not a good game to watch. Maybe I'll play No Man's Sky. Maybe I'll finish off the Demon Hunter. We'll see. Well, or maybe I'll play Ariel. I really enjoy the new heroes, so we'll see.
So
They'll probably be PC based, but
yeah. So again, that will be twitch.tv/JossPlays tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be traveling to DreamHack, so make sure you follow me on Twitter at JossPlays for all the updates. Otherwise, you can also join in on the JossPlays Discord server. I will be posting pictures and updates of my tournament fun. Hopefully, cross your fingers, it's actually fun in those places as I kind of document my time in Montreal. So thank you to everyone who is a patron of the Gamers Inn. If you would like to be a patron and try to bring back the actual patron participation game night, you can do that over at patreon.com/thegamersin. If you'd like to visit us on the web, you can do so at gamersinpodcast.com. You can find us on A Move TV along with other fabulous podcasts, including The Angry Nerd, Into the Nexus, Overwatchers, and The Angry Chicken. You can follow us on Twitter. You can find me, Jocelyn, at JossPlays. Ryan is at R. Murphy, and don't forget to follow the show at The Gamers Inn. The video versions of all our episodes can be found on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/AMoveTV. You can also find us on Facebook and Google+. If you would like to email the show and let us know what you thought about Warcraft or what you think about No Man's Sky and tell me how wrong I am about how boring it looks.
Or right. There will probably be people on both sides.
Then please do so at info@gamersinpodcast.com. So thanks for staying at the Gamers Inn. Remember, tune in next week. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.